Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
I don't know that's fucking. You're just like making it your own now. What are you doing?
Okay, bad start. My headphones came out. Say that again. Were you talking shit?
Yeah, no. I just said that you took some liberties with the Open.
It was my first time doing it. I mean, if it wasn't good, I apologize. I'll get better, but it was my first time, so I think I get a little bit of, I know
Creative freedom.
No, or just like some leash. No one ever taught me how to do it, told me how to do it, how I should do it. I just fucking did it the way I thought to do it. I was told 15 seconds ago I was the one doing it, and I did it.
All right. Well, thank you for doing it.
Welcome.
Okay.
I'll watch. I'll listen back. I'll analyze the tape.
You'll watch the tape. Yeah. You're gonna learn from this. You're gonna grow from this.
Or who knows? Maybe people love it and you just keep doing it that way. Dallas, sorry, I'm doing it now.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, Dallas is not here right now. According to Dallas, he said "Star Without Me" got in late. So I think the season's really getting to him. I think, like, you want to know the date of when did the Oakland A's break Dallas Braden? We don't know for sure, but there's a chance it was May 17th. There's a chance that it was May 17th. I'm not going to rule that out as a possibility.
I think making it that long is admirable.
Yeah. Like I said on the podcast yesterday, like, people will ask me how he's doing like he's dying. like that is the tone of voice that people will ask me. And these are people that know Dallas personally. They're not just like, oh yeah, no, like I met him one time, or I know that you do the podcast with him, but I don't know him personally. Like, these are people that like know him and they're like, ooh, how's he doing? How is he? It's very solemn is the word that I would use. Yesterday, though, I mean, let's start on a high note. I mean, I guess it depends on who you're a fan of, but to start on a high note, I know a lot of Mets fans listen to this podcast. The New York Mets. What a game, Jay Hay. What a night to be a fan of the New York Metropolitans. And I thought for sure, I half predicted it correctly. I was talking about the you had a home run to make it 2-0 in a scoreless game in the 7th inning at that point, right? Then you have you're like, well, I said, like, this is probably going to be short-lived. Like, if this is the best moment of the season, this is probably going to be short-lived. I think it was 8 minutes later was when the Rays struck back. Go ahead.
No, this game was so funny to me because it's people talk about momentum in baseball and narratives and how things are going, and like nothing about this game made sense from that perspective, because if you buy into that stuff, the Rays, the best team in baseball, were going to walk all over the Mets, where the vibes were terrible and the losses were piling up. And then, as you said, there were numerous opportunities for the Rays to have sealed this game, up 2-0, up 5-2 in the 9th, up 7-5 in extras, and the Mets just kept coming back. Multiple 3-run home runs. I was following this. It was epic, and you really just can't predict baseball, and this is a good example of that, I think.
Yeah, I got that wrong. It was Isaac Paredes hit the ground rule double in the 4th. Jose Siri hit a homer in the 7th, so it was 2-0 in the 7th inning. The Mets were getting blanked, and Mark Vietos hit a home run, his first of the season, second of his big league career, and that made it 2-2 in the bottom of the 7th. And that's when I said, if this Mets fans' happiness is short-lived, at least they had this moment. Because you could even sense, like, okay, yeah, the home run tied it. They didn't take the lead. I understand that this is a moment that Mets fans needed after the stretch of baseball that they've just played, but you could even get the sense that tying it may be the peak. Like, tying the game might be the top of the mountain. The very next inning, Brandon Lau, 2-run bomb. So now it's 4-2, and you have just told the Mets, It took you 7 innings to score 2 runs. And do you think you can do it again? Probably not. And I'm sure Mets fans felt that way as well. In the top of the 9th, Randy Arozarena, RBI knock to make it 5-2. And I'm sure a lot of Mets fans probably turned that game off. I'm sure a lot of Mets fans were like, man, it took us 7 innings to score 2. We need to score 3 in the bottom of the 9th. Like, there's no fucking way. Francisco Alvarez says there is a way. Follow me. 3-run bomb. Pimps the homer, the whole deal. Crowd's going nuts. Everyone's loving it. Mets fans are like, wow. Not only 1 comeback, but 2 in the very same game. This is incredible. It's the Mets year. It's the Mets night at the very least. Top of the 10th, Harold Ramirez, RBI knock. Josh Lowe, RBI knock. It's 7-5. And if you're a Mets fan, you're thinking, God damn, just give us this one. Just stop doing this to us. Stop taking leads late against this team for us to have to scratch and claw just to come back and tie the game. Like, never mind, give us a lead. They had never led. They never led. They were just trying to tie the fucking game. 2 on for Pete Alonso. You may remember him as the home run derby champ. And corny as he is, because trust me, motherfucker's corny as hell, but he can sock homers.
Alonso drives one, deep left field, really going back, it's out of here, and the Mets win it! Into the second deck, Alonso a 3-run shot, and the Mets walk it off.
Never has someone made hitting tanks look so cringe, but he is a force to be reckoned with.
He hits them.
Trust me when I tell you, he hits them.
Let's fucking go Mets.
I mean, he is something. And against all odds, against the best team in baseball, I think that's a really good point by Jay Hay. It is it's a comeback win against the best team in baseball when you are playing, not even arguably, objectively, your worst baseball of the season. And we've been talking about the Mets schedule and how they had a runway of shit teams that they could just steamroll through, or that they should have steamrolled through. They did not. They lost just about every damn game. And then it was like, oh, great. Now that we wasted that opportunity against bad teams, now we have to play the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, maybe that's what they needed. Maybe they needed to play up to the opponent.
Well, and the part of this that, kind of got lost in the shuffle is the performance of Senga too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, we've talked about how they've been missing that shutdown impact pitching from the front of their rotation from the 2 guys that they signed to be that way. They also signed Senga this offseason, and not only was this start a huge success, but I think you have to, he's made 8 starts so far. I think you have to call his first 8 starts overall a pretty distinct success for the Mets too, a 3.77 ERA with 55 Ks and 36 hits and 43 innings. I mean, it's imperfect. He's still walking too many guys, but last night, 12 strikeouts against the Rays. The only pitchers in Mets history who have had a start featuring more strikeouts within their first 10 starts for the Mets. First 2, I bet you guys can get. Dwight Gooden.
Are you going to go Tom
1984?
Seaver?
No, but Nolan Ryan.
Oh.
1968. And then Dick Selma.
Oh, Big Dickie.
Dick Selma.
Dickie Selmy.
Had 13 strikeouts in a 10-inning start in a 1-0 win over back in 1965. But yeah, that's it for Senga. I mean, I think that was really impressive. I sort of expected that the Rays would figure that out a little bit, and it would look a lot more like his start against Cincinnati the time before, and that just wasn't the case. He was utterly dominant.
12 strikeouts, 3 walks, which you don't love. But I mean, usually if you have a high strikeout game like that, 12 strikeouts, it's going to drive up the pitch count. Then you add in the 3 walks on top of that, was still able to go 6 innings.
Go. The big upset. Big Cinderella story. The New York Mets
Oh, you gonna
Coming
hate on
in.
the Mets right now, Joe?
Paying 2 pitchers more money than the entire Rays roster, and they won. 4.5 times more payroll, and they won. But it's looking up for the Mets ever since they, fell to 4th place in the division, started the season with a losing record against the easiest schedule in the league, and playing the opposing team's logo on the scoreboard as they whoop them. They are undefeated since then. So now that raised their playoff odds, according to Fangraphs, to 50.7%. So Mets fans, get a coin out, flip it. You might make the playoffs. 50% chance.
Wow.
Things are looking up.
Do you think that that's accurate? Do you think that that's true to what's actually going on the field now?
Oh, what's going on the field now?
Yeah, like if I were to ask you without having looked at the Fangraphs playoff odds, does 50% feel right to you?
I would say it feels low. To be honest, I think the Mets would make the playoffs, especially with I would give them a 68% chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say Fangraphs knows more than me. So I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs, but I would be because I gave them 68% chance.
Interesting. Jay, what do you think about the Mets playoff odds right now? 50%. Does that feel right? Does it feel low?
Yeah, I think it feels about right. We talked last podcast about how outside of maybe 2 or 3 teams that it's a real muddled mess in the NL. And I still think that, if there are 6 other playoff potential teams still figuring things out like the Mets are, I still like the talent on the roster on the Mets relative to a lot of those teams that we discussed prior to the start of the season. Like I still like them above the Giants, and I still like them above the D-backs, and I still like them above, like the Pirates and the Phillies and things like that. Like none of that has really changed. So I think it's right about correct. I think the Mets should feel decent.
Yeah, for the Mets to not make the playoffs, they'd have to be worse than the Giants, the Pirates, maybe the Marlins.
Runway's still there.
Yeah. There's a lot of these teams that they're competing with, as sad as the Mets have been as sad and have like more reasons to be worried.
I think
to go back go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like the 50% is almost perfect. Like you would obviously say at the beginning of the year that their odds were much, much, much higher. But from how they've played, where they're at, the energy level. Oh, that was the other thing too that we didn't get into was the Jason Kipnis. Did you see this?
Yep.
I did not see it. What do you say?
So Jason Kipnis was asked about Francisco Lindor and his leadership, or they were basically talking about the leadership in the Mets clubhouse overall. So not necessarily just Lindor. This was on the Foul Territory podcast.
All those veterans and no leadership.
Ooh. Well, you played with Lindor. Is he a leader?
I'm going to repeat it again. All those veterans and no leadership. If everybody's a veteran there, you're kind of just under the assumption that everybody's taking care of their business and going about the things the right way. But you kind of need someone to be those bumper pins kind of on each side. If people start getting out of line a little bit, it helps keep people in order and in track and focus on the same thing. Everybody gets a little comfortable because there's all veterans and you don't really have to worry about what you're doing because it's like you can do no wrong. You kind of forget that little being on edge when you're a young guy and you're like, oh, I don't know if a veteran saw me or I shouldn't be doing this. You lose that kind of should I be doing the right thing mentality.
Jason Kipnis, former teammate with the Guards.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that because obviously I've never spent any time in a clubhouse with Francisco Lindor, so Kipnis has got me beat there. But like what lack of discipline within the Mets are we really talking? Like the problem hasn't been from an outsider's perspective, and Jason Kipnis is also an outsider to be fair. Like it hasn't seemed like this clubhouse is in turmoil and the team is running amok off the field. It just seems like they're not playing well enough and haven't had their best players for long stretches of the season. Like, I don't understand why that's a reflection on Francisco Lindor as a leader. I just don't really get that. You also have plenty of other veterans on that team, and you also have Buck Showalter as a manager, and I don't like what role is. But I know that the player leader is a different force within a clubhouse than the manager, but what role is Buck Showalter playing there if the clubhouse dynamics are so out of whack that we're talking about a total leadership void? To me, it's, I don't know, it feels like a little bit of a pot shot from Kipnis that
well, he's
isn't
big
really
time,
based on anything.
He's
like, I don't
walked
understand.
it back big time.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, like
There you
he had like 40 tweets about like, you know, all the nobodies on Twitter. This is why I don't go on Twitter. People coming at me like I didn't mean it like that. It's like, how else could you have meant it?
Yeah. Also, by the way, in the clip that you just played, he said it,
And then
there
he
was
said
a
it again.
follow-up, and then he doubled down by phrasing it the exact same way. So I don't want to hear whether it's true or not. Clearly he's walking it back, so it's garbage. But like, I don't want to hear about how it's the losers on Twitter who have never played who don't understand the perspective that you were delivering. Actually, man, you just said something and you now have to own what you said.
Right.
Sorry about it, I guess. I don't know. Like,
one more time. We're joined by Dallas Braden. Of
Fuck all them losers
on Twitter.
Whoa.
Your game.
What happened?
Your game.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
No, you're right. It is your gain. Me showing up is your gain.
well, no doubt.
Where's the tell them Joe's dickheads. Hold on.
All right. Yeah. Did you hear what Jason Kipnis had to say about the leadership in the clubhouse with the Mets and the shot that he took at Francisco Lindor?
And then walked back like a coward?
Mm-hmm.
Or no?
No.
What?
All those veterans and no leadership.
Ooh. Well, you played with Lindor. Is he a leader?
I'm going to repeat it again. All those veterans and no leadership.
Oh.
Wow. Sounds like something that got taken out of context that he didn't mean to say, doesn't it? Or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So that's pretty strong. That's
very strong.
What? I mean, I've been awake for fucking 39 seconds right now.
Mm-hmm.
What is the context of this? What happened?
No, nothing.
just-
That's just they're not playing well. Like that was my follow up. Is like what specific incident is prompting a public lashing of Francisco Lindor's leadership? Like, this team is 2 games under 500 and has missed huge chunks of season by their stars. Like, I just don't. And I'm glad he walked it back, because to me it always came off.
These
it
are
comes
his
off as a
tweets.
pot shot.
These are his tweets. Not trying to go at anybody with the video yesterday. They were asking what the locker room looked like, so he speculated, because that's all we can do. We don't actually know what's going on in there because we're not there. Not trying to be the old head guy, so I'll choose wiser words. I said what I said. We'll move on because I don't have the energy nor the want to do the Twitter back and forths. Also, Frankie wasn't expected to be a leader when he was so young. I bet he's grown into a damn good one. We're just talking shit because they're not winning like they can.
Okay. Fuck it. I'm glad we fit Jason Kipnis into the 2023 season.
Yeah. Then someone said, you're about as good of a media personality as you were a ball player. And man, you were a shitty ball player. And he said, baseball Twitter, useless comments from useless people. Quick reminder of why I got away from Twitter in the first place. P.S.
Well, I'm not going to call Jason Kipnis a useless ball player.
No, he's
he
an
contributed
all-star.
to a lot of important Cleveland wins, but
yeah. He said sick men's league action shot. So
Whoa,
I think
that's a cheap shot.
That's just a guy right now. All right, here's my take on it.
he got his first taste of a video going viral. Like, he said something that he thought no one was going to hear. Everyone heard it. And then he was like, oh, I didn't mean that shit.
Well, I feel like it's he knows that his opinion or that his statement on the matter would carry weight because of his relationship or lack of, apparently, however you want to look at it, with Francisco Lindor, right? And so you fire off that statement, and yeah, he was kind of, I don't want to say given an opportunity to maybe rephrase it, but they're like, hold on, what about the shortstop that they gave a boatload of money to that you're pretty familiar with? Like, is that not a leader in that room? And he made it very clear, like, I'll I'll say it again. I would have loved to, honestly, I would have loved to have seen his facial expression while saying that part.
Very stoic. Yeah, there was not much of a change in facial expression.
And so that is, in my opinion, also kind of like, emoting like, right. You did hear what I just said, right? Yeah, I appreciate you adding Lindor's name to it, but I'm going to go ahead and just repeat what I said so that you get that message. And yeah, it does sound like the Wolves came and he was like, you know what? I'm so fucking over this. Like, this is, and to his point, is that not what happens on Twitter? Is that not how that goes? Like, you say something that somebody doesn't like.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's just mob mentality. It's like one person is like, fuck this guy. He's like, yeah, fuck this guy.
It's exactly. And
All
so
those
if you
veterans
don't
and no
know,
leadership.
Ooh. Well, you played with Lindor. Is he a leader?
We repeat it again. All those veterans and no leadership.
Like, he doesn't break, like, nothing about his face changes. He's just like,
no,
all those veterans and no leadership. Like, that's blank stare.
Well, say what
You
you,
know what
want
Jason
about Kipnis's media personality, but you can't say that about AJ Przinsky because that was a great freaking follow up to pin him on Lindor. So what about Lindor? You're saying he sucks? What do you think?
You saying he sucks?
That's a veteran. That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that? I don't know if you guys have talked about this, Jay. Hey, how do you feel about hearing that? And is there any takeaway from how things were going in Cleveland? How things maybe could have gone in Cleveland?
Never heard that uttered about him previously. So maybe I'm not paying close enough attention to that part of it, but that was my thing. Is it didn't resonate at all because you never heard about clubhouse issues with Cleveland. Like, you just never heard about clubhouse issues in Cleveland. And and a huge part of that, I'm sure, is Tito, but like that has persisted. And there was nothing about this Mets season or the Mets in general since Lindor arrived to suggest that what has been holding them back has been clubhouse dynamics or a clubhouse riff. I can't pretend to know for sure, but there have been no reports of that. So that was my reaction. It's like, where is this coming from? Like, there was no specific incident as it relates to the clubhouse that precipitated this line of questioning or this response, as far as I'm concerned. Like, they're just not playing that well.
That's where I would say, like, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with your assessment that there wasn't any clubhouse issues. Because what I'm thinking about right now is you remember the initial dust up between McNeil and Lindor.
Yes.
Right. So a common denominator between what Jason Kipnis has said and what happened in New York upon arrival is Francisco Lindor. Is that fair to say?
I guess. Yeah.
Like that's as far as I'm going with that right now. Like, I'm not saying like, do you see the connection? No, I'm just saying Kipnis played with Lindor.
Right.
True or false? True. And then Lindor gets to New York. Expectations. I don't want to say jockeying for leadership, but you kind of need to, you kind of need to fill a role, so to speak. And I think that comes along with the territory. And then they have their back and forth, whatever their conversation was about. So when I hear that, I hear Kipnis saying, maybe, and like he did in his walking back of the statement, maybe Francisco Lindor wasn't ready to be a leader in Cleveland. It's almost like I feel like he's kind of saying like, damn, we could have needed, we needed a leader. We could have used his leadership then. Maybe he was a little young for that and came with those expectations, but wasn't ready. But it just seems like a very backhanded thing to say. But I also do want to just, if we're looking at this objectively, I do want to remind folks about that dust up that happened in New York and remind folks that Kipnis is a teammate of Lindor's. And just because you didn't hear it from elsewhere doesn't mean that there wasn't something to that. But fuck, man, it just seems like such a stretch to say something like that when you haven't, to your point, Jay, haven't heard this about Lindor from anywhere else.
This is the last thing I'm going to say on this, because if I say any more, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble by speculating. But if there was a role to be played on those Cleveland teams where Kipnis and Lindor overlapped, the leadership role presumably should have been filled by Jason Kipnis. So and not Francisco Lindor. I don't understand why he's being scapegoated here. He was an exceedingly young player at the time he and Kipnis were playing together. And Kipnis was also young, to be fair, but like was generally older and was a staple in the middle of that infield for a half decade. So I guess I'm just not really giving any of this credence, and I don't think it's fair to us to vaguely assign responsibility for the Mets' slow start to a guy who has shown up every day and played every day, unlike many of their highest paid and most important contributors, because that's what Lindor has done. So I'm off it.
Yeah, I just think I think he said something that got picked up, and it's his first experience of saying something in a fashion where he knew he had a platform, but he still kind of felt like it was insulated to an extent, and it did pick up steam. There were eyeballs on it, and now folks are talking about it like we are. So it's his first experience in what it's like to say something that
you have to back up,
that
you have to stand by.
And because ultimately what people are going to ask for is, okay, well, you didn't just say this out of nowhere, right? You have an experience that I'm sure you're drawing on. Do you care to share with the rest of the class? And if that answer is no, then I would think an apology should follow, because you shouldn't, like, as a teammate, as a former teammate, I'm not saying anything that I can't substantiate. And if I say something that is going to need to be substantiated, then I'm in essence putting in the balance my relationship with the individual that I'm talking about and whoever I'm talking about it with. Like, there's an evaluation, right? And that's why it's a slippery slope, man. You learn, though. You learn what to say, what not to say. You learn how to say it. And if this is a media thing that he'll be doing, then I'm sure it's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Francisco Lindor was the best player on a 101 win team last year for the Mets. So I'm not sure what his brand of leadership is exactly, but it has been working fine. And quite frankly, it's been working a lot better than what the Mets looked like before Francisco Lindor got there. So
it's true. I also I don't know. I feel like that's if you're thinking about the relationship between Jason Kipnis and Francisco Lindor, then you have to mentally put yourself in the spot of what was the peak of their relationship when Francisco Lindor was like 24 years old? Like,
youngster.
Like, you're drawing from the experiences of a player that hasn't been in the league for very long, that was playing on a team that had veterans, they had those guys. And even Terry Francona
Kipnis had been on the
himself.
team for 4 seasons when Lindor arrived. 4 seasons. Who is the leader there?
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense for it to be the 22-year-old shortstop who just came up.
Correct.
Over your middle infield partner who's been there for who would be going into his 5th season when Lindor was making his debut.
That's why I feel like there is a specific instance, there's a moment, or maybe even a chain of small occurrences that have built up in the mind of Jason Kipnis, where he hasn't shared them, they haven't been talked about, they haven't been made public. They weren't made public, to your point about Tito in the clubhouse and tightening things up. And it feels like there's a story, like he's got a specific instance, or he's got something that he's drawing on.
I can envision exactly what that story sounds like.
But we'll never hear that. That'll never be made public.
I don't think we'll ever see Jason Kipnis on a podcast again.
Was this on a podcast? What was this?
It was Foul Territory. It's the one with I think it's Scott Braun and AJ Pierzynski. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so he was a guest. I thought he was like I thought this was like on a post game show or something like that.
No. This was
hope they enjoyed the free BID bounce.
Yeah, that was probably a first and last type deal.
Well, see, I don't know, man. I mean, if he's firing things like that off, People might be interested in getting him on.
Yeah, he's 1 for 1. He's batting 1,000, dude.
Yes, but at the same time, like if you get your feet to the fire and immediately put out a series of like 20 tweets being like, all right, everyone leave me alone. Like I didn't mean it like that. Like I don't think you're cut out for the podcast world. I'll say some dumb shit and then just be like, dude, fuck you. and I'll be completely wrong. Like I'll be wrong, know that I'm wrong, and just be like, all right, fuck you. I'll just put my phone down for like an hour and be like, all right, I'll come back. I'll come back when the news cycle changes in 45 minutes and you guys won't remember this.
Fuck that L.
Yeah, I'll just wear it.
I'm not counting it.
Yeah, like what last weekend when I like the Rays, I think it was Yandy Diaz at the Grand Slam. The Rays went up 6-0 in the Bronx, and I was like, this is what it's like when the best team in baseball plays a poverty ass last place team. And the Yankees came back and won, and I just muted the conversation. I was like, I'm not updating you on what happened in this game. Like, yeah, the fucking Rays were up 6-0. That's a win. In my mind, that's a win. You guys are poverty. The Rays are the best team. You guys should have lost that game. No, I'm not going to update you on the comeback. Fuck you.
That's what real men do. You throw a fucking punch wildly, and if it doesn't land,
just walk away.
You turn the fucking phone off and you walk away.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Like, I want to say, like, I got to find it because I bet you that tweet's got to have over 1,000 replies. Like, I was just eating it all day and did not give a fuck. Yeah, like you guys can scream to the void. I don't give a shit. Jason Kipnis could never. That tweet. This is what it looks like when the best team in baseball plays the last place poverty franchise, just taking care of business. 1.6 million views on this tweet. 891 replies. 383 quote tweets. Didn't see one of them.
Do you? I gotta ask you. Like, do you? And no pun intended. This is just what came to my mind. Do you walk a little taller when you're like, I didn't fucking hear any of that. Yeah. Because you could just like, there's an option for mute conversation. So the second the Yankees came back, I was like, boop. mute conversation, and everyone's like, update. You got an update on this? It's like, no, I don't actually. I'm about to make some DiGiorno pizza though. I'm onto these fucking chicken tenders, bud.
Yeah, and then the day changes, and
that's a hell of an approach.
Yeah, the next story happens. You just move on.
I need to start doing. You got to show me how to mute shit.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's just like that top right corner. You can mute people. So are you
fucking serious?
Yeah,
where's my phone?
I equate the option of like muting people to like in Jaws when they shoot the shark with the barrel to like mark it.
Yeah.
That's like that's muting for me, because when I mute someone, like if I have a tweet, right, that I see like fucking there's 30 replies under there, but 5 of them like this person has been muted, I'll like look to see what they said. It's not like me muting you isn't gonna make it so that I can never see what you said again, but it's me marking you. It's like, well, if I mute you, I'm marking you as a fucking asshole. It's like, oh, this guy sucks. So like I know not to engage with that person.
Dude, I only rarely bust that out.
The mute?
I know you have to deal with a lot, like infinite more nonsense than I ever could imagine on Twitter. But yeah, that's reserved for people with a very special place in my heart. Yeah, no, I've probably have muted like 3,500 people.
Damn.
Oh my God. That is like a full-time job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a professional at it now, but I mean, my whole thing is like, if I put out a troll tweet and you respond to it seriously, or like your first action is to talk to me in a way that like you're just a fuck, like I can tell you're a piece of shit, that's going to be a mute. But like, I think when you talk about Twitter etiquette and muting people, like, it's like, oh, like he hurt my feelings and I can't see it. Like if I mute people, I still see everything that they say. It's not about protecting my feelings. It's about marking the shark. Like I've marked you as someone that is a piece of shit.
They're cursed.
So
it's basically a curse.
it's a don't engage with this person marker. Like, because you can't win if you respond to this person. It's basically, yeah, that's what it is for me.
Not me. When I do it, it's a hex. If I mute you, you're bound to have bad luck for the next 10 years.
How many people do you have muted, Joe?
Maybe 2 or 3 max.
2 or 3?
Yeah, Joey and I are on the same page with this one.
Oh
yeah,
my
I'm about to start muting the fuck out of people.
Yeah, you gotta mute. Don't, because if you block them, then obviously if they're as much of an asshole that deserves being blocked, that's their World Series. They want
That's
to
their
be
goal.
blocked. Yeah, the only time that I'll ever block someone is if they're spamming. If you're just tweeting me the same picture to you're responding to every single one of my tweets by saying the same thing, or if I'm having say I'm having a conversation with Dallas on Twitter and you just keep interjecting, then I'll probably block you. It's dude, imagine me and Dallas are at my house, and then you just walk in the front door and are like, yeah, but this is how I feel about the topic that you guys are talking about. That's that. Yeah. So I have 104 people blocked, and I have muted 3,439 people, and I have 4 muted words. You can mute.
Dude, you have muted more people than I fucking follow.
Yeah. I mean,
me too.
Yeah. You can mute words and phrases as well. I have muted 4 phrases. Can you guess any of them, Dallas?
Stand up when you're talking to me.
Short.
Look me in the eye.
I
how's
muted
the weather down there?
I muted leg day. I have muted football is on. Once football season comes around, September, and I'm tweeting baseball highlights, and all the fucking dickheads are bro, football's on. Dude, why are you tweeting? Why? I know that you cover baseball and baseball's on, but football's on. Why are you tweeting? But why are you putting this on my timeline? Cannabis. Anytime, dude, bro, I thought your name was Cannabis. Has anyone ever said that?
Why do you
ever called you Cannabis before? Why does every time that your name pops up in my timeline, it looks like Cannabis?
I don't like the fact that you're associating the word cannabis with somebody who's speaking slower and appears to be less intellectual. I don't.
Well, that's true. Well, these are dumb people. These are dumb people that can't read. And then I muted age well.
Oh, back to your Yankee tweet.
Mm-hmm. This isn't gonna age well. This tweet didn't age well.
Well,
This is definitely not gonna age well. Oh man, did this age well? No way, dude. Good luck with this aging well. So that is 4 phrases that I have muted. But yeah, I've marked. Think about that though. I've been on Twitter since 2009, and I've only had to mark 3,500 pieces of shit out of the thousands of replies that I get. That's not too bad. Right?
Seems like a large number.
Objectively, I would say I've engaged with over 1 million people on Twitter before, and my jail population is 3,500. That's not bad.
My original mute was the Big Burrito.
What's that? What is that?
Chilling.
Oh.
See ya,
Uncle Kurt. Jake, book Uncle Kurt.
We put Uncle Kurt in the back room, and we closed that door.
Oh, what a Thanksgiving that
yell when we need the bedpan changed. That's what we said.
Damn. Oh. Interesting.
Not blocked. Muted.
The baseball season's in full swing, whether you're rooting for the home team or betting on your favorite player. DraftKings Sportsbook has got you covered for all this season's action. And right now, new customers can place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, everyone can hit one out of the park with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. Spencer Strider fucked me last night. Had the over on strikeouts, and he struck out 7, which is even still, you'd be like, oh, he struck out 7 last night. That's pretty good. That was like a season low for him. His season low was 8 before that. And he had struck out 9 or more in all but one start. And that one start was 8 strikeouts. So, of course, when I take the over on his strikeouts, he strikes out 7. Join the big league action right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app, sign up with the promo code Jared, Jared. New customers can bet just $5 on any bet and get $150 in bonus bets instantly, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with the promo code Jared. I just thought of this because I do it now. And as you guys know, I hiccup at least one time per podcast. You see, Bo Jackson he's had the hiccups for like a year.
What the
You didn't see that?
I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't want any of that smoke
From Bo or for the hiccup gods?
from the hiccup gods. So
I mean,
I don't know how I have to tiptoe around this, but I feel very bad for Bo. And I just hope that nobody ever has to deal with anything like that. That is a major imposition. It sounds like I've dealt with hiccups for an extended period of time before. And it's just fucking miserable.
how long did you have the hiccups for?
I had them for like 3 days. And
3 days?
yeah,
How did you get the hiccups for 3 days?
I think it was me. Like I did it diving too. Like this happened to me when I was spearfishing, and I came up and like I had, I'd stalled out, decompressed, come up and swallowed water on the way up and was like, oh, not a lot. I was fine. But in my effort to like cough up all the salt water and shit like that, like I feel like fucking, this is what I told myself. I was like, I got air in all the wrong tubes and it's trying to come out and I just got too much in there. And that's why it persisted for fucking 3 days. It wasn't like incessant, like every 20 seconds, hiccup. It was, that you have the hiccups and you're going to fire one off like at least once a minute, but it's not going away. Like you'll go through, like I went through like, periods of a couple hours where you have the hiccups and it's a grind and it just didn't go away for like 3 days.
That sounds miserable.
It was fucking miserable.
Did you?
You don't want to talk. You don't want to do shit, dude. Like I didn't want to go out. Like day 2, I had to go to physical therapy and, work out and play catch and do all do the grind. You think I wanted to, can't fuck. It's miserable. Because that's all you're thinking about.
Imagine
like I don't want to
being
say
on
anything because I'm
David
going to
Letterman with the hiccups. What year was
puking
this?
on myself.
Imagine you cost yourself a perfect game because you hiccuped mid pitch.
This was like 2013. I was done playing, or I was rehabbing on my way back to play. This was when I lived in Hawaii, right before I moved back. And threw that fateful bullpen on the mound at UCLA, or my arm just fucking disintegrated.
Damn, you must have felt.
Yeah,
you must have felt like a real piece of shit. You're like, here I am, can't even wipe my own ass. I've had the hiccups for 3 days. I don't know if they're ever going to end. How do you make them stop?
It was a very defeating moment because I was actually on the hunt for a fucking octopus at the time, and that's why I came up. I came up quick because I found one. And was ready to go back down, but they choked on fucking seawater. And that was just Mother Nature going, no, not the octopus today, pal. It's you. You're going to fucking wear this one. Yeah, it was a dark time in my life.
Would you
do anything to get rid of them? Fuck yeah.
Like what?
Anything. Day 2, I would have done anything.
But you did have a day 2. What did you do?
I hated life. I did.
But what did you do to get rid of them? You scare yourself?
They just went away. No, that's what I was just going to say. Like I tried to do absolutely everything you try to do. Like turn up the music loud to shock myself. Like how do I scare myself? I'm not.
Yeah, that doesn't work, dude.
But like drinking water
that's like
upside
a high
down.
Dallas thing to do. Oh, I'm gonna fucking turn up the music loud and be like, woo.
Well, I mean, there's a strong possibility I was probably medicated, but I wanted to like, well, how else am I going to skip? What am I going to fucking jump out from around the corner and look in the mirror. Ooh, got you.
I don't know, Dallas. Do you have fucking friends? Do you have other people in your life that maybe you could have tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, I've had the hiccups for 3 days. Do you think you could, like, at some point scare me?
I'll be honest. Yeah, I had friends there, but they had jobs, and I was only around them during the workday for a couple hours at a time because those are they were the trainers who were rehabbing me and all that. I was on an island, Jared, in the middle of fucking the Pacific Ocean.
Literal island.
Literal island.
Literally and metaphorically. You were on an island. You were on a hiccup island, and there was no one that could save you. There's no lifeboat.
Miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable. It's miserable. I don't wish that upon anybody.
Yeah, well, Bo Jackson's got it. So I hope he
Bo knows cups. Sucks.
Yeah. I absolutely hope that he doesn't continue to have these hiccups. Domingo Germán, he accepted that shit. 10-game suspension for the stickiest hands in the history of the world is what we've been told. It's Brian Hoke, by the way. A lot of Yankee fans. By the way, I told you. That's the thing, Dallas. All these motherfuckers tweeting me because I hype up my boy Judgy. They're like, you switched up, man. You switched up. What happened to the Yankee hating Carabas? We want him back. I still wish that the Yankees would lose every game. That doesn't mean that I can't root for my boy Judgy. But then, but me doing that, right? That opens up the baseball is dead door to one of the biggest fan bases in professional sports. We get more Yankee fan listeners now than ever before because of my relationship with Judgy. What?
I just is
just say thank you, dude. What the fuck? Like, it's the most obvious prompt to thank me of all time.
Yeah, are you growing? Is that what's happening?
The podcast is, yeah.
Because I think you're starting to tread in what could become choppy water.
No, because I don't hype up Harrison Bader.
Why not?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think he's a tool.
Wow.
Judgy's class. He's
Judgy.
He's a great player who respects the game first and foremost. MVP, and he's just a winner. I just like the guy.
And do you feel like that relationship is going to compromise things, or
what's going to compromise what? Red Sox fans getting mad at me? No. I think it's just people are just like, what are you, a Yankee fan now? No, it's just Judgy. There's no, like, and Booney too, because he gets a lot of praise from me, whereas he doesn't get a ton from Yankee fans.
No, Yankee fans not very happy with Booney for whatever reason.
I don't know. I would love to have a manager that was more like, I don't know, like he'll just say, like, I'm also in the same boat where Cora will just say how he feels. Boney will just say how he feels. There's too many politicians managing baseball teams. They feel like they come from that old school of, I got to say the right thing versus I'm just going to say how I feel.
Well, I think that's a point that managers aim to get to, and not all managers are in that position where they feel like they can say what they want.
You know who says whatever the fuck he feels? Bob Garen.
I haven't talked to Bob in a while, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, we know you haven't talked to him in a while. Probably blocked him on Twitter. Dallas sitting there being like, I don't know how to block and mute. Fucking, he's got Bob Garen blocked on everything.
I got the block thing figured out, but I think I've only got like 5 people blocked.
Okay. So you say. Domingo Germán accepted the 10-game suspension.
I just searched Bob Garen. Third thing comes up. Bob Garen, Dallas Braden.
That is all you assholes. Every single bit of that is you assholes.
Bob Garen, you searched it on Twitter or Google?
Google.
Oh yeah, there's like a whole
Bob Garen and his legendary competency continues to grow. And
Yeah, I
we
mean-
got Dallas Brady being mentioned because you had your groove going against the Cubs. They were off balanced or something, and some shit happened. Who cares? But it was a good outing against the Cubs, so.
There's definitely
That's
people
right.
that listen to this podcast that are just like, wait, what did happen between Bob Garen and Dallas Brady? Every time
Right,
you
yeah.
Google Bob Garen, it just Dallas's name is attached to it now.
Incredible.
That's funny. Well, if you want to know, just DM me. I'll tell you. I'll give you the whole story.
R.I.P. your DMs.
Tell me that I'll give you the story before the Netflix series comes out. It's called Railroading Bob.
You guys are sad.
No, I'm happy. You guys win last night?
That's right. Jared, I'm this is a long game.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Long,
Like you get caught up in the individual wins and losses, and I think your season can become awfully turbulent.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree.
So I choose to place my emphasis on really the totality of this season. And we're not there yet. So
Yeah. I'm gonna Dallas.
there's a lot of
Can I ask you a
of
question
baseball.
about Jay Hay while Jay Hay's here?
absolutely.
Do you feel like in the years that we've been podcasting together, which is now 7, almost a decade, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Do you feel like Jay Hay has become, he's almost completed his metamorphosis into a 100% neutral fan? Like I almost don't associate him with the Guardians anymore.
Yes and no. I still always know that he's a passionate Guardian fan because I always I think I remember his like the displeasure around not locking up Jose Ramirez earlier, and
But I feel like he would be just as passionate about a conversation where like another franchise didn't lock up their star. Like it's all like, does Jay Hay love the game of baseball more than the Cleveland Guardians? I think the answer is yes.
he's a fan, a major fan of the entire sport.
Yes.
And he values talent across the game, and he wants the talent to be acknowledged all at the same time while appreciating his fandom for the team that means a lot to him, not only because it's his team, it was his grandfather's team. His family loves this team.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a deep rooted tie to this franchise for him. But at the same time, I think over the years and the displeasure with how things have gone, he has found a way to find pleasure in the success of other players. And that has ultimately been the water that has floated his boat here recently.
Jay Hay, care to comment?
I think it's a natural byproduct of working in and around, and I've been blessed to do so, but in and around baseball since I was, like 24 years old, basically. I joined Baseball Tonight full time in my first World Series was 2011. So, we're now 12, 13 seasons into this. And I think you're right. I think you're both right, really. The Guardians Cleveland franchise is at this point mostly a mutual bond that I have with members of my family. And my grandparents are no longer here, so that took a chunk out of it for sure. Because I don't go to Cleveland and go to the games as much as I used to. And I think in a lot of ways, 2016 was kind of like a second peak for me from a fandom perspective, because I was able to experience some of that World Series live. My brother was able to go to one of the games in Cleveland, which was really cool. And for various work related reasons and the fact that they lost and have, I think that was just kind of another chapter for my fandom. So I'm exceedingly invested in the sport over the Guardians specifically at this point. And that's a lot because of the work that I do and this podcast and how I like to contribute here. I like to touch on all 30 teams, and I like to try and make sure that I'm informed on all of them. And then, the research stuff I do as well. So it's just a natural. I think it's really hard. I think it's harder to maintain your fandom while working in and around baseball than it is to lose it. The fandom of a specific team, not of the sport.
Because you become opened up to, and you start to dive into how other franchises operate and the things that get you to rally around your franchise or the things that get you to rally against your franchise at times, you start to see kind of play out over the entire landscape. And now the marriage you have that is fueled by that passion starts to dissipate a little because you're putting energy in these other places and you're watching it unfold similarly in other places. And you start to realize, you know what? I am fired up about one team here, but there are 29 other ones that to some extent probably go through the same stuff I do. And with all of the research you do, you start to figure out like, you know what? I think I'm just a fan of the game.
Yeah. And I think like the Guardians at the time, obviously named different at the time, but like they were my entry into the sport. Like they helped facilitate me falling in love with the game and, bonding with it with my dad and my grandparents and my brothers, who maintain a fandom as well. Brandon and Dylan, shout out. But they like, it's just been so long. Like I cried over the 97 result, right? Like I was 12 at the time. Like I remember that happening. I remember how it happened and I cried. And like, that was the last time I ever cried over baseball or about anything related to the Guardians. So it's like, that's just not really the fan that I am. And I don't think, even if I hadn't worked in baseball, I think my Guardians fandom would have waned as I got older anyway, maybe not quite as significantly, but I think it would have waned. But whatever I've lost in Guardians fandom, I've gained in, as Dallas said, an appreciation for lots of the fun stuff that's been going on in the game and some very cool memories that I've gotten to experience because of working in and around it. So
it's interesting.
And by the way, and the last thing I'll say is part of the breaking point for me in terms of like, I was this sort of fan, now I'm this sort of fan. I cannot care more than the owner of the team. I just cannot do it.
It's a fair point.
And and that's just how the team's been operated. Like I was very spoiled as a youngster in the 90s because they were operated as an entirely different entity than they have been operated on for the last 15 to 20 years. So had a great run when I was a formative fan, when I was a youngster, when it was probably most important to me to be that sort of fan. And now I get to look at it from a different point of view. And too often that's a sobering point of view for the Guardians and how they invest in the team. But
yeah, it would be, it's like the cool aunt or uncle who you see during the holidays and it's just a kick-ass time when they're over at the house. It's fun. You love their presence. Like they make the time. And then for whatever reason, that person transitions into the aunt or uncle who's like, here's a $5 birthday card. I don't come to town. We don't talk. We don't anything. Like, the relationship is completely different. And that's how baseball franchises, when ownership changes and shit, that's how they feel is, one group is here for the romance of the sport, is here for everything that the game can do for fandom. Yeah. And then there's other groups who don't operate their business model even remotely close to that.
I have some very specific Guardians related memories that I hold very dear and that are like with me for the rest of my life. Like I've told it before, I think on Starting Nine, but like when I took my grandparents and my dad to the game and Tito came over and like carved out, like right before the game, carved out like a full 10 minutes to just sit there and talk to my grandparents and my dad. And like, that's, I will literally never forget that. And I know my grandparents didn't either. And, so that's where my fandom is. It's less about what did the Guardians do on Tuesday afternoon in 2023. And it's more like these individual memories that I'll cherish. And, maybe we'll add to that. Maybe we won't. But either way, I think it's been a very worthwhile relationship.
Yeah. To your point about like getting too close to the team too. Like I don't like, that's why I don't go in the clubhouse. Like I obviously have relationships with the players, but I still keep my distance because like when you work in baseball, you can lose your fandom. Like if you're working for or around a baseball team, Like you can
Well,
compromise that.
Let me, and I'm not poo-pooing that at all, because we all process this stuff differently. My experience has been to absolutely maintain those relationships and absolutely allow them to happen. And then if they fade naturally over time, then that's what it is. And because I don't ever want to have missed out on the opportunity. Like the conversations you could have with people. It could be in passing. It could be a 2-minute exchange that makes a huge impact on your life or your outlook. Or maybe it's something that you share with them that they never thought they were going to hear because they just never took the time to have a conversation with somebody like you in that position. And I would hate to think, like last night, man, it was great. We got in town super late, but the relationship I have with these guys on the team, coaching staff, all of that, I couldn't imagine not being able to have the conversations I have with them and not being able to just exist the way we do together if I didn't open myself up to what is ultimately the potential of losing a friend, right? Because if they go, they're gone. It's not like I get to see them in the clubhouse the next day. They're gone. They're gone forever unless they come back. So, but to not have the opportunity to have that relationship initially, I think that for me would be the bigger miss. That would be the bigger swing and miss. Because Vin Scully talked about this. He talked about it a lot early. Didn't want to get too personal with the players. Why? Because you have to be critical of them. And to his point, they're not going to be there forever. Like Vin Scully wasn't going anywhere. Eric Karros, come and gone. Mike Piazza, come and gone. Right? All these come and gone. He's still there. So that was his approach. And I mean, I don't think anybody's knocking fucking Vinny, right? Not in front of me. Don't do it out loud. But like that's the differences in how people navigate these moments in time. And I wouldn't want to miss out.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because like Jay, one of the coolest, like a Guardian story, and this happened in spring training actually this year. Karinchak and the Guardians were in town, and Karinchak came up to me in the bullpen, and because they're stacked bullpens in at the stadium in Mesa, and Karinchak came up, shake his hand, hey, what's up? Talking to him a little bit, and he sat down, and Sandy had walked by and like did a double take and then stopped, came over, like reached over, gave me a hug, was like, man, it's good to see you. He's like, hey, you down here now? He's like in the trenches. And like, he's saying all this shit and he's kind of loud talking. And he's like, man, he's like, these kids, they need this, man. They need this. They need the knowledge. He's like, it's so glad to see you down here, DB. And like every time Sandy speaks to me, I still am just like, this is fucking Sandy fucking Alomar, dude. This is so fucking cool. And like he just the way he treats me. And I couldn't imagine not wanting to create that relationship with a guy like Karinchak or create that relationship with a guy like Sandy.
He unfollowed me.
Karinchak did?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like that's not a relationship you'll be.
Honestly, I think he's such a fucking psycho that there was like some game in like 2021 maybe, or maybe it was last year, I can't remember, but he was at Fenway like getting heckled pretty hard for like taking too long. It was something like he was getting heckled at Fenway, and then he unfollowed me after that. Like he must have just oh, Jared, Red Sox fan?
Yep.
Fuck the Red Sox. Fuck Red Sox fan. Fuck you guys, motherfucker. Like nothing I didn't say anything about him. I didn't like tweet anything. Like nothing happened. He's just a lunatic. So, but I respect it.
I love it.
Anyways, some beers can say that they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. It's the natural choice for opening day and all season long. I'll be cracking open some Blue Moons this weekend for Padres, Red Sox, Xander Bogaerts. I'm going to be crying into my coriander this weekend with its refreshing flavor with Valencia orange peel with hints of coriander, subtle sweetness and hints of coriander. Blue Moon, Belgian style wheat ale. is a one-of-a-kind beer that's made brighter. It's carefully crafted and full-flavored with refreshing notes and a smooth, creamy finish. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for the new season. Why strike out with the same old beer when you can get something that's one of a kind? Its bold flavor, bright explosion of color, and iconic orange slice ritual guarantees a one-of-a-kind beer experience perfect for spring weather. Best served with its signature orange garnish to showcase its beautiful bright color. A beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon, but you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's a one-of-a-kind every time. Check out shop.bluemoonbrewingcompany.com for beer and baseball merch, or visit get.bluemoonbeer.com/rocket to find Blue Moon delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/rocket. Blue Moon, made brighter, celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado Ale. All right, I have to go because my body is falling apart. Like, I was gonna address all this stuff in the off season, but like, you call to like make an appointment, and like anytime you get an appointment with a specialist, they're like, yeah, we can take you in 8.5 months. Does that sound good? So that's where I'm at. I was like, fuck it. I was like, I have things to do during the season, but I put this off long enough. So I have to go to the doctor, which is probably my first time going to the doctor in like 7 years at this point. But I am going. I do have a final thought before I leave. This is going to be fun to see what the podcast sounds like if I step away with these animals and they're just left to their own devices here. My final thought, Xander Bogaerts, Boston Red Sox this weekend. It's going to be weird, especially, and I said this before, like, we were doing the Stop and Shop look ahead on Name Redacted. James Paxton goes in the first game. Corey Kluber goes in the third game. So I don't really give a shit about that. It's not going to be weird. It's like two dudes who never even played with Xander or pitching against Xander. But that middle game, Chris Sale, I don't want to see Chris Sale versus Xander Bogaerts. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see all the stupid headlines. Like, I've already seen one when I woke up this morning, like, Xander Bogaerts doesn't regret his decision to go to the Padres. Maybe. Like, they're already trying to like drum up drama. Of course he doesn't. They gave him $280 million over 11 years. No one else was going to come remotely close to that. No one. So I'm preparing myself to be angry and frustrated this weekend. But if the Red Sox win the series, which they should, because Blake Snell has not been good this year. Joe Musgrove, not very good to start the year. I forget who's going in the finale. Jake, do you remember? Oh, Wacha. That's going to be the other one that's going to fucking piss me off, is because it's going to be Corey Kluber versus Michael Wacha. So if the Red Sox don't win that game, they're like, why didn't you bring back Wacha? Why didn't you bring back Wacha instead of fucking, you paid Corey Kluber and he sucks and you could have Michael Wacha? So like, I'm prepared for a weekend of hot takes, and it's going to be super annoying. But if the Red Sox win the series, then it doesn't matter. Anyways, you gentlemen, all the numbers are on the fridge. Call me if you need me. Don't stay up too late. Dallas, looking at you. No smoking in the bathroom, okay?
Smoking in the bedroom.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys have fun, all right?
Good luck, buddy.
All right. I'll keep in touch.
Moon River.
Okay, bye.
Fucking fine.
Well, Jay, hey. Yeah, about goddamn time. Fuck me.
Can we take his name?
Baseball?
Can we take his name off the mantle while we're here? Replace it with our mugs. Baseball is dead with Jared Carrabis. Baseball is dead with the three good-looking ones.
About motherfucking time. You got some nugs, Jay? Hey, you've been cooking it up?
Yeah, let's run it through. Chris Bassett, last 3 starts, 23 innings pitched, 9 hits, 0 runs, and a 380 OPS allowed. I know his scoreless streak extends back into that 4th start, actually. But his last 3 have been all perfect, 23 and 0.
Sparkling.
Jared, I know Jared was talking about Bogey and the Padres and the Red Sox meeting up. Bad run for the Padres. We hit on that earlier in the podcast. 2-9 over the last 11. And once again, the offense is not coming through. 30 runs over those 11 games. I believe Tatis and Soto combined to go 0 for 9 last week as they dropped 2 of 3 to the Royals with cheese. That's a bad one. Probably needed to take 2 of 3 there, or would have liked to. Marco Gonzalez, this is a tough one. But, I report the good and the bad. 8 runs allowed in under 2 innings pitched last night. He's the first Mariners pitcher to do that against the Red Sox since the big unit himself back on September 1st, 1991. So for all of you who are waiting for an 8-run performance in fewer than 2 innings pitched, Mariners, Red Sox, you finally got it.
You got it.
Yep. After a multi-decade wait. The Cardinals, glad everything's okay there. 8-2 in their last 10. They have scored 6.9 runs per game over those last 10 games, and they have a plus 34 run differential over those 10 games. Good thing they didn't sell the team. I mean,
are you saying bad baseball happens, Jay Hay? Is that something that happens? Like you could not play well for a week or so?
I don't know if the new management team would have been able to rip off an 8-2 stretch like this. If the DeWitt family had decided to pull up stakes and head on out. And this is
it'd be
a weak
interesting
note,
stat
but I
to
do.
Find.
Sorry to.
Sorry to.
What's your
No, please.
If we could find their ERA with Contreras behind the plate compared to whoever else is catching for them, I would love to see that.
I had that. Hold on. And then while I go and get that, my last nug, we talked about Senga earlier in the podcast. I want to note that batters are 5 for 44 with 30 strikeouts against the forkball this year. 5 for 44, 30 strikeouts. Those are my nugs. Any reaction?
Yeah, well, that is not surprising considering even the pitch itself doesn't know what it wants to do at any given moment. That thing just is fucking devastating. But yeah, I'm glad that the Cardinals fans are able to show their face again in public. I know that they're probably going to have to go back and restock their closets because they burned all the jerseys. They burned all their merch. So at least they get a new, fresh thread because, my God, things were looking very, very dark for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Just glad we opened up those voicemails.
Able to pull out of that, though.
To Joey's question, we're now at a point where Wilson Contreras's catcher ERA or the ERA while he's catching is 4.75. And for Andrew Nisner, it's 3.82. So the gap is closing very quickly because that was like a 5-run gap the last time I looked, last week. So
they fixed him, bro.
Yes.
Ollie Marmol's a genius.
One interpretation is that they fixed him. The other interpretation is that there was never a problem to begin with. And that he was scapegoated, as was reported on this very podcast.
Almost like you just got to wait it out.
Yep. Maybe he should have just chilled out for a second and it would have turned around fine. But, it has turned around. So Ollie Marmol is a genius, I think. And a nice guy from all reports from Joe.
That's the rumor. That is the rumor. Joe, what do you got? You got final thoughts?
Final thoughts for me. I would say I like to follow the bad teams and these teams keep cycling in and out. First month of the season, we had the White Sox, shit team. They were getting roasted. We had the Cardinals. They were getting roasted. And I would even put, obviously there's a lot of teams. I would even put the Tigers. Okay. And if out of those 3 teams, and the A's. True.
Whoa.
I forgot about the A's. But the White Sox, everyone was rated the worst team ever. They're still pretty bad. They're kind of done. They're out for the season. I'm erasing the White Sox. St. Louis, they graduated. Now they're not that bad anymore. And the Tigers, they also graduated. They're in second place. Shout out to the Tigers. They're out of the bad team, hot seat, worst team ever discussion. Everyone shits on them. But there's new teams entering. They're being replaced. And these are on my watch list for potential downfalls. Seattle Mariners. What's going on with Seattle? Padres. If they go on a bad run the next 10 games, we're going to see a St. Louis White Sox debacle, managers getting interviewed. Are you going to get fired? Oh, you're going to bench blah, 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 blah. They're on my watch list. And it hurts me because I picked the Mariners to freaking go to the World Series. And I know they're only a game under 500. I thought it was honestly worse. But after what they did against the Red Sox yesterday, and after a week ago, I said they were going to be in second by the end of the week, and they're not. I got my eye on them.
It's never good when the team you picked to go to the World Series is on your mid-May watch list.
No, they're gonna need to reroute some things.
I have a hunch. I don't know. They haven't been playing that bad recently. They were honestly worse towards the beginning of the season, but there's something about them that's pissing me off. Probably because they betrayed me in my pick, but they are on my watch list. So them and the Padres. Padres are even worse.
You need to add your Wi-Fi signal to your watch list as well, Joe. And that goes for everybody else. Yeah.
It's your Wi-Fi, dude.
It's not my Wi-Fi.
You've been lagging the whole time.
That's simply not true. That's simply not true because no, Joe, you don't understand where I'm standing at right now. Xfinity. They've got Xfinity. And as you know, Joseph, baseball season rolling quite along. And it's that time of year. We're doing podcasts. You're making videos. You got to stay locked in. So I would recommend you keeping an eye on your Wi-Fi. And again, when I'm watching all these games, when I'm recording all these podcasts, it can get tough. There's a lot to go, right? You got to spread it around. But thanks to the Xfinity 10G network, we can stay on top of everything. That's right. With Xfinity 10G, we can power an entire house full of shit. All of the devices, ultra low lag, no problem. So you and everyone we know, we can stream every single game, same time, never miss a pitch. That's getting dialed in with Xfinity. And guess what? If you're on the go, they got your back. Millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. That's right. Millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. And introducing the next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts right now, Joseph. Right now.
Hey.
So learn more at xfinity.com/10G.
I'm going back to the future. I've been had Xfinity.
Well, You're gonna need a little more juice. What do you got, Jay?
Quick final thought before we head out. I want to give everybody a little something to look forward to today. If you're catching the pod early at 1:10 Eastern, Yuri Perez squares off against the Nationals, and Taj Bradley squares off against the Mets. So if you are into young sexified arms, please give those guys a look. I'm going to be tuning in. It's going to be great. That's what I got. I'm excited for that. Really am. Taj Bradley, 23 strikeouts and 2 walks and 15 and a third. Just pure nastiness.
These are two arms that I think both franchises foresee having a big part in what they do in the future. And the fact that they're here now and as young as they are and performing, very, very, very exciting. Very exciting. My final thought is, I'm going to take the time every time something positive happens for the Oakland A's in the green and gold. I am going to talk about it. Luis Medina showing up and making his third big league start. It's nice to have superstars on a team. That's great. And if you're a team that doesn't have superstars and you've got a lot of young guys, when you see young guys come through that kind of flash what can be superstar type talent, you take note. And I think that's what I have seen from Luis Medina early on. Saw it with Mason Miller, who unfortunately is dealing with some elbow inflammation and some elbow issues. He's getting some second opinions. But to watch Luis Medina come back up to the big leagues and under the pretenses he did the first time around, knowing he was going to get sent down, there's a lot psychologically that can happen to a guy in your first 2-3 big league starts if there's some fluctuation on whether or not you're going to be here. Am I promoted to stay or am I just here to fill in? And can I perform with all that on my show? Well, the answer is yes, a resounding yes, in my opinion. And watching Medina pitch with what was not his best stuff, meaning it wasn't 99, it was 96. It's very promising, very promising. So that's my final thought, is being excited, to your point, Jay, about young arm talent on the mound. You just listed a couple names. Luis Medina, if you're on the West Coast and you like baseball and you'll stay up late to watch it, regardless of what color the team uniform is, Luis Medina, check in 4 days.
You think he's rookie of the year?
That's my final thought.
Is he rookie?
No, I don't. I don't think he's rookie of the year, but I think that it's a lot of fun to watch right now. And I think as he continues to get better, his performances will only get better.
I'm just bringing that up because right now, I'd say Yanir Cano is probably rookie of the year in the AL.
Yeah,
which
but
is
he still hasn't given up a fucking hit on the changeup, right?
hasn't given up a hit on changeup, hasn't given up a run, hasn't walked one guy.
Yeah,
in 21 innings, and
that is just a large bucket of filth.
And rookie of the year for a reliever, just be on the lookout for that. The guy is
very solid.
Arguably, I mean, he's having one of the best stretches of all time right now. I think his whip in his first 17 games is like might be the best over any 17 game stretch.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's touching first base. Nobody.
Check out his slider. Check out his sinker and his changeup. You two would love that. I'm sure if you guys haven't looked into it already, but the pitch design and shit, I could try to explain it best I could. It's probably not great, but it's like he changed his arm angle or some shit. They look identical spin, like 10 miles per hour slower on the changeup. No one's hit it.
Well, that's the magic number that folks aim for. 10 or more miles an hour worth of separation. And you get some people looking like a goddamn fool. All right, that'll do it. We are done for the week. We've got next week to look forward to. Enjoy. Did we already touch on some series that we were looking forward to?
Brewers, Rays, Dodgers, Cardinals, Orioles, Jays. Those are the ones to watch, baby.
There you go. You heard it there from the Nug Chef himself. That is a wrap. Wow.